Hey guys, happy Homebrew Wednesday. I've got my homebrew, I've got my cigar, enjoying the nice weather, and we've been quite busy this week on the homebrew front, a lot of projects going on. The first one we're going to take a look at is, you'll recall a few weeks ago I made a hard cider, and during the week I kegged that, so we're going to take a look at that operation right now. So today we're going to keg the cider that I made a couple of weeks ago. It's been fermenting and also clearing up. You can actually see, hopefully you can see my hand through there. It's fairly clear. It's a different yeast than I'm used to using. It's the leftover pack of yeast that I had from the John Palmer's 11s, which is the Thames Valley yeast. So it's an ale yeast. Usually I use a cider yeast, so this is a new experience for me. So yesterday I added potassium sorbate to kill off any further fermentation. We're going to get it out of the carboy into a keg, get a gravity sample and a taste, and see if we need to back sweeten, and if we do, how much. And we'll do that with some frozen concentrated apple juice. We've all seen this operation before. So you've got the auto siphon in the carboy, transferring the cider into the small 2.5 gallon keg, and you got a paper towel wet with star sand covering the opening, make sure no hinky things get in there. And there's the neon green trough I use for sanitizing all the long parts. So we'll see what happens once we get this all into the keg. So the gravity reading, the finished gravity, is 1.007. Given this yeast, that's about what I would have expected. Starting gravity was 1.063. That gives about 7.4% alcohol by volume, and apparent attenuation of 88%. Not bad at all. So we're going to give it a taste and see what we want to do regarding back sweetening. The dog who played the crucial role of barking at the mailman while I was kegging the cider is exhausted from her efforts. Given the final gravity and my taste test, it was fairly dry, but it has a little residual sweetness. And you can definitely taste the alcohol. And knowing my audience, I decided to put about 2/3 to 3/4 of the can of frozen concentrated apple juice in. It's in the keg. It's hooked up to the lines. Lines have been cleaned. That was pulled off the tap, and it's tasting pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this, and I really have to agree with Brewmaster Ben that ale yeast, I think, gives better results than cider yeast, which is sort of counterintuitive, but I'm used to cider yeast and I'm much happier with this product. And the only thing I changed really was the yeast. So the cider's in the kegerator, not quite carbonated yet, but it tasted pretty good when I tasted it. And again, thanks to Brewmaster Ben for his experiment trying out the different kinds of yeast. I agree. I think ale yeast gives a little bit better flavor when you're using bottled juice. Another project I had during the week, I mentioned, I think, that my beer for the SJ Pour Challenge is going to be along a Belgian line. I want to use a Belgian yeast, and I have an issue making sure that I get to the fermentation temp that I need, which would be about 74-75 degrees Fahrenheit. I spent the entire weekend puzzling through and building a fermentation chamber so that I'm going to be able to do the beer for the challenge. I had planned on buying a chest freezer, so I got a digital controller for that, but funds right now for the chest freezer and the timing just isn't going to work out, so I had to come up with something temporary, and I worked hard on it all weekend, and well, you're going to see the fruits of my labor. Introducing the debut of the Fermentemp 5000. The shotgun marriage between high-tech digital control and recycled cardboard boxes. So we've got digital controller, a couple of cardboard boxes. I mean, what could be more high-tech? And it's sealed up by not one, not two, but 3 high-strength clamps. Why 3? Because that's all I had. Inside the Fermentemp 5000, you'll see the high-tech heating device. People my age will recognize it as a heating pad. You also recognize there's a warm side and a not so warm side. I intend to put the not so warm side facing in. I don't want it too much concentrated heat on the side of the carboy. And you've got the temperature probe for the controller, and well, that's about it. This is designed for one use and one use only. I do intend to get a chest freezer that I'm going to use with that same digital controller down the road for fermentation and cold crashing and carbonating, but for the SJ Pour Challenge, I'll be using the Fermentemp 5000. Ask for it by name. So that's a look at the fermentation chamber that I'm going to be using for the SJ Pour beer, which I'm going to brew tomorrow. So Thursday is going to be a brew day. I've got everything ready, and hopefully that'll go well, and I'll be able to document it so we'll be able to show it to you next week. Had one more project this week. When I was brewing my last batch, I noticed I had a little bit of leakage in my mash tun. Not a lot to be worried about, but just enough to be annoying. And I tried to take care of that this week. I think I did a decent job. We'll take a look at what I did right now. Okay, after the last brew day, I've been noticing I've had some kind of drooling, a little bit of leakage here. Not a lot, but just enough to be annoying, sticky stuff on the table. So as I'm tearing everything down to give it a complete cleaning, I'm going to replace one of the O-rings here with a flat silicone washer and see if that helps the little bit of drooling that I get out of there. Also, looking forward to what I want to be doing with pumps and things like that. I want to get rid of the hose barb, and I'm going to replace that with a stainless quick disconnect. So figured I'd make some video of that process. So I've loosened things up with the big honking crescent wrench, and I'm going to remove the valve and the outside hose barb. So that's that. And then take off the O-ring. And because in between the wall, the outside wall, the orange wall, and the inside white wall, there's actually a little gap. I fitted in another O-ring in that little gap. So I've got to thread this out of that opening because of that O-ring that's inside there. That basically just gives a little bit better seal, I think. But of course it leaks, so what the hell do I know? So I don't know if you can see in there, there's an O-ring in between those two walls. In this little groove right in here, and that's that one. So this is the inside of the bulkhead fitting. That's what is on the inside. You got the hose barb to connect to the false bottom. You've got a O-ring that helps seal to the inside. I want to get that off and clean it. And then I'm going to remove what I can of the Teflon tape from the threads. So we're going to do that and come back. Okay, we want to get the hose barb out of the... I already loosened it. I don't have the strength of 10 men, so don't want to make a fool of myself on camera. But I want to get the hose barb off. We're not going to use this, at least for this anymore. So I'm going to take the ball valve, clean it out, clean out the inside of the mash tun, and we'll be back. So, off camera, I wrapped Teflon tape around the inside, the threads on the inside part of the bulkhead fitting, and realized I had wrapped it in the wrong direction, took it off, started to wrap it again in the right direction, dropped the roll of Teflon tape, watched it unroll and unravel all the way across the floor, eventually got tape wrapped around in the right direction, and this is the large O-ring that goes on this side, that goes inside, and then this fitting goes inside, and then we'll screw on the outside. I'm also going to replace the O-ring inside this little groove. I don't think it does much because here on the bottom it sits pretty low, but I don't think it hurts anything either, and I've got it, so I might as well put it back in. So that's now kind of seated in the groove that's created between the inside wall and the outside wall. And we'll thread this in into the hole from the inside of the vessel. There we go. So that's the inside portion all set. And now we'll work on the outside. We've got the flat gasket that'll go on here. And I think this is going to give me a better seal than what I had before. And then we're going to take the ball valve and put in the quick disconnect. So off camera, I wrapped the quick disconnect threads with Teflon tape without dropping the roll on the floor, and inserted it into the outside part of the ball valve. That's why I left the handle this way, so I know which way is out. And then now we're going to screw this whole assembly onto the bulkhead fitting. And I could already tell, I think that's going to give me a better seal with the flat washer there as opposed to the O-ring. I think it just gives a little bit more surface area. So what I'm going to do is use one crescent wrench outside to hold the ball valve in place, and then inside using the hex on the hose nipple inside, the hose barb inside, I'm gonna tighten that up. And that'll complete the project. So we're on, it's nice and tight. Hopefully that'll prevent a little bit of a leakage, a little drooling that I had at the bottom. So now all I need to do is reinstall the false bottom. It's already been cleaned, had the hose attached on the fitting inside. This then will slip onto the hose barb inside the cooler. So we're going to do that now. And there's the false bottom installed. Hose clamp tightened on the hose barb inside, the inside of the fitting with the red rubber O-ring. So we're going to fill it with water and see if it leaks. So the mash tun is about half full of hot water and no leaks. I'm pretty happy. So I think that'll do it for all of my updates this week. I hope everybody else is having a pretty good week, and cheers!